Good evening, everybody, and how are you doing this evening? One second, I just needed to make sure my tube was muted. Almost made a rookie mistake there. Sorry. So this is season 3, episode 17, Bounty season 9, and weekly update. I hope you're all doing well. Tonight it is just myself and the wonderful Rue. How are you doing this evening, Rue?
I'm doing well, thanks, Liam. How are you?
I'm good. Good to be back. Good to be back. I do apologise. I missed a few shows. Work. Unfortunately, but no. I know the game's kind of been a bit crazy these last few weeks, but I don't know. Let's run through some slides because there's some stuff in that anyway. I'll pass over to you.
Okay. I think if you can put me on present mode, I should be screen sharing.
I've got you locked on now.
Okay. Can you see that?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, slide pack content today. Quick slide on the May raid. We got some information on that. Going to touch on a couple of things from Rampage reports. We're going to go through the weekly update and then take a look at Bounty 9. There have been some changes with that, and then go through some of the bug fixes. So let's go ahead and dive right in. Kixo posted on their Facebook page the other day the information on the May raid. It is called Mercenary. It's going to run from May 10th through until the 14th. And Greta and the Draconians have been slipping megaparts to their outposts on the Lost Continent. Unknown to them, the Scourge have been secretly monitoring their movements. The Scourge have offered the Forsaken access to some of their technology in exchange for the Forsaken destroying their Draconian convoys. And in this raid, we can earn the Makara's Manticore, which of course is the flagship.
So are we working for the for the Scourge?
I don't know. They've given us access to some of their technology. Maybe we could do with like a shipyard upgrade that gives us the break on the weight for that equipment.
Oh God, yeah, that probably will be coming. And Makara, is that the name of the Scourge character?
No, it's the flagship name for the hull for the Manticore.
I know, because normally there is like sometimes they name it after a person, don't they? But I don't know. Or maybe it's just a name.
Yeah, did not look that up, so not sure on that one.
I was just curious. I didn't know if it might be hinting towards like a new character coming up, but I don't know. Interesting.
Okay. Moving on to Rampage reports. He talked through the prototype hulls, the ammo carrier, the turret carriers. If you missed that information, we did talk about that in depth on last week's show. He did show us an image of the Makara flagship. That's the one at the top with all the extra orange and I guess that's kind of like green stuff. So that's the new flagship that we're all going to be looking for in the May raid. And then he touched on the Scorpion equipment for the TLC, which of course is the Stinger missiles, the Strike System 4, and the Scorpion CIC. And originally it was announced that we were going to have to go ahead and have the Manticore build in order to be able to do the TLC. Of course, everybody lit their pitchforks and got a little bit upset because that was not how it was originally announced. And so Kix did reverse their decision on that. And so after hearing our feedback, they've changed the requirements for the Scorpion TLC. So the new requirement is that you have to actually own the blueprint for the Manticore hull. Does not mean it has to be built. You just have to own it. And that these are going to be assault targets that will no longer be restricted to the Manticore fleet. Due to this change, the team is also adjusting the targets. So the hope is that really good Phoenix fleets and Skyfire fleets will also be able to handle this TLC.
I hope it's not at an extreme cost, though. That's my only concern.
Yes, that's what we've got to see. But at least now people are not having to either A, rush to build Manticores, or B, not be able to participate at all because they only got the whole blueprint and then didn't get the rest of the stuff to go with it.
Yeah, I mean, I just don't really fathom why they ever thought that their original plan was a good idea. But at least they heard us, they've seen the light, and they've made the change.
Yes. Yeah. Okay. The other thing that was talked about on Rampage Report, somebody asked the question about the 111 targets being removed. And so in the weekly update today, this was shared with us. Basically, in response to our feedback, they have kind of adjusted their position on the 111. The points have been reverted back to 150,000 points, and the 111 and 103 have now been restricted to tier 6 holes and below, which basically means that the Inferno Dragons cannot hit these targets. So the 111 back up to 150, and 111 and 13 restricted. And so I kind of put this slide together because a lot of people have been very upset about this. And basically, the 111 was originally a transition target that was only supposed to be there for a short while. Then it got left in, then they added in the 112. Their original plan for the 111 was to completely remove it after the May raid, which means that nobody would be able to hit those. The big concern with that is that players who either don't have the Inferno Dragon or are trying to build them in between their raid holes and everything else they're trying to get finished, they would be left with only the 103, which pays, I think, 80k points, or even lower targets, the 82, which I think is like a whopping 20k points, if they were using older fleets. So, we know that the icebreakers don't do well in the 112, neither does the Zealous mono fleet. So what this change allows is it allows players now to do the 103 and the 111 targets in the FM with the older fleets and not have to grind a bazillion targets. And obviously, once they've gone ahead and built their Inferno Dragons, they can then move up to the higher target. This is a separate issue from the amount of damage that is being received in the 112s and the 117s. Now, we know right now there's an issue with antis in the targets. I don't know if that's what's attributing to the extra damage or if there really was yet. I think that would be the third week in a row now, damage increase. But what this solves is for those people that do not have dragons done and could not use their older fleets unless they were doing itty-bitty targets.
Yeah, and I think it's quite interesting how many people with dragons were hitting the 111s, and of course they're going to be a bit frustrated with the lock to tier 6, but that whole idea of people with dragons mainly hitting 111s, I mean, basically no one wants to hit 112s and 117s. People, I don't know anyone that likes the targets. I don't know anyone that thinks the damage is acceptable, and players are basically reverting back and hitting lower end targets, and that really should spell out to Kixeye, hey, maybe something's off here. Maybe we've pushed it too far. Maybe we should adjust it. But
that's a really good point, and that's what I think we need to focus on, because everybody's kind of focusing, well, I can't take my Inferno Dragons into the 111. In 3 weeks from now, the 111 was going to be gone anyway. Mm-hmm. So whether it's restricted for the dragons or whether they removed it, in 3 weeks there was going to be a problem for people that were going down on the lower levels. The bigger issue is, how do we deal with the damage in the 112s and the 117s?
Well, I mean, I built dragons as soon as they come out. I won them as soon as they come out. I put all the top tech on them, all the tech that Kix has specified, full charged armors, I mean, I put the right setup on, at least I feel, was a fairly confident setup. And I'm taking masses of damages in the 117s. I spent 3 days autopiloting 111s with dragons last week while just doing my other gaming stuff. I mean, FMs is probably my most frustrated aspect of the game right now. It's just an absolute nightmare.
Yes, and it is the key component of the game, and so it is something that does need to be looked at. I know, and this was last week, I have not tried this week because, of course, I was doing the slides, but I know last week I was able to, with three dragons that were complete, auto 112s, 4 gave me an extra one, I think it did, and then toss in the Savage in the corner, and then that helped. So I was able to get like 900,000 points, and then, for about 3 or 4 hours repair. But if that damage just keeps creeping up, then I don't want to be in a situation. We talked about this on the show last week. I don't want to be in a situation where I can't do anything else in the game because I've got to wait for my stinking FM fleet to repair.
Yeah, and like I did actually message a dev and just say, look, I would probably be happy, Like, I understand that they want us to take some damage. They don't want us to be able to do FMs for free. I can accept that. I can accept that point. You know, they're putting good tech in there, and I don't mind hitting the target and taking a couple of hours damage, or even an hour damage. I don't mind coining it a little bit. I don't mind spending 2 or 4 coins, two 4 coins. But I'm not spending 10 to 12 coins for hitting a 117. You know, there's guaranteeing we take a bit of damage, and then there's taking the piss. And excuse my French, but I do feel that that's where we're at. They're at a stage where they're absolutely taking the mick at the moment with the damage. It needs to be either whatever's causing it needs to be, if there is a bug with counters, and that needs to be fixed straight away. That should have been fixed like the second the 117s come out. And if it isn't that, if it is just because they've tuned the damage up too high, then they just need to correct it. I mean, I'm sure it wouldn't even take them an hour to fix. You know, I just think that there's a real problem right now. Is frustrating large members of the, large amounts of the community seem to be very, very annoyed with FM, and it's just everywhere at the moment.
Okay, I've got people saying that they can't see the video. Can anyone out there hear? Can you hear us?
Can't see the video. Anyone that can't see the video, can you just refresh? 1 second, I'll see if I can see the video, because I've got YouTube here in the
Okay, let me change the slide and then see if...
Yeah, there's mostly people who are saying they can...
All right, it may just be because we were stuck on the slide. Okay, well, that's all right. But yes, I think the anti-issue is something that popped up this morning, because people that were normally taking like 2 hours of damage all of a sudden jump to like 8 hours of damage. So I'm hoping that most of that damage increase is tied to that anti.
Right.
Okay. The next thing that showed up in the weekly today, and this was a big surprise for everybody, they're calling this a new ability. It's actually a new stat. It's called over damage. Mm-hmm. Weapons with this ability will deal at least this much damage beyond the target's deflection value. So beyond the target's deflection value, it's going to apply this damage. This value is applied per projectile and per damage type. And so if you've got a weapon that's got multiple projectiles and multiple damage types, like a mortar with maybe two damage types, it's going to happen twice. Over damage is currently not affected by bonus damage effects. This has been retroactively applied to the 2XQ mortar, the siege missile, and the D55, and then the siege rockets L100 CTs. I did show, this is actually from the missile, because people were a little bit confused because it's only on a couple of weapons, so they couldn't see the stats. It's underneath the attack stats for those weapons. So you'll see here on the missile, it's got 1718. I did confirm with Kix, because my first question was, well, is this in conjunction with pass-through or in lieu of? And Chris was nice enough to answer the question to tell me that it does not stack with pass-through damage.
See, I like this, but in some levels, I'm kind of a bit frustrated by it too, because Kixeye told us that they were changing PvP, and they gave us this new thing called pass-through. You know, we've all been working with pass-through now for a couple of months. You know, we've been building fleets to it. We've based weapons and ship designs off of it. You know, everyone's kind of at a point where we understand it. And now they're saying, you know, it's almost like they're saying, well, hang on a minute, pass-through's not really allowing enough damage in, so let's increase that. And instead of your pass-through stat, we're now just going to create this new magical stat called over damage. You know, and it's just like, it feels like they're just bending the rules. I don't know.
Well, I can say that I was Venom happens to be in my neighborhood, dragging down property values in my sector. He actually was out hitting some guard fleets today, and I watched a bunch of base hits in my sector this afternoon before getting on the show. And now that there is this over damage, it's just eviscerating fleets and melting them left, right, and center.
Guards, yeah. Well, you think about, let's look at this one weapon alone. Now, usually this weapon would have done 360 pass-through on penetrative damage and 360 pass-through on explosive damage. So you'd have been getting 720 a hit, times, say, 7 or 8 missiles on your ship, times however many ships. So, you know, you're talking about low figures. But now, instead of getting 720 a hit, you're getting 1,718 on penetrative and 1,718 on explosive. So instead of getting 720, you're now getting like 3,436. Now that's a very significant jump. I mean, that's almost like a ×5. So you can now kill a guard 5 times faster with an MSC. And that's just one example. I think the MSC is probably, the siege missile is one of the things that is benefited mostly from this. But certainly the CT rocket is really. Have you got any of the other stuff on screen, Ro? No, or
no, I just grabbed this one. It was the only one I happened to get. The other side effect of this, and Shane brought this up, I think Shane Walker brought this up on the page, and we've had a pretty lively thread going on about it, is that older fleets, that used to have the lower pass-through, they're tissue paper now. I mean, they're glass slippers, because if you hit, let's say you were using an older ship in your guard that only had like 20 pass-through because you didn't have any of the new armor on it, well, if it's got 20,000 armor points or even 100,000 armor points, you get hit with 3 MSCs with almost 2k per each projectile. That's gone in a salvo.
Oh yeah, totally. I mean, you need T7 now, because if you're running boulders, eviscerator, model missile eviscerators, you're screwed. Yeah, that 150k armor pull will be gone in seconds. Yep. So yeah, I mean, even the Hopes are going to struggle now.
Oh, they are. There is no hope for the Hope now. Even with the new armor on it, they're melting. Yeah,
the Hope's done for now. I'll be removing mine. I just recently finished an eviscerator with model missiles, so that's not going to get used. Yeah, so it's interesting, very interesting. But I almost feel like I've spent 3 months learning PvP again, and everything I've learned is now out the window looking at what was in the release notes this week.
Yeah.
Like next week, PvP is a different game altogether.
Well, and the other thing that, I mean, I know today is the update, but it's like, okay, this happened the day, literally, 2 hours before Bounty started? So nobody really had an opportunity to react to it or even think about it, and people are losing stuff in Bounty. I guess the only silver lining of this is that folks that are hitting the map targets now in Bounty, you're actually able to kill the guard with your fleet, and you don't have to come back later with another fleet to kill those. So
yeah, I mean, it is I don't know. Yeah, I've not had really a chance to absorb it all yet, but everything I feel like I thought I knew, all the stats and stuff that I'd worked out over the last few months, is all just out the window now. Now I have to recalculate and refit everything, basically.
Yep.
Which is great.
Okay. One good bit of news that came out of the update today, whether it was intended or not, they have actually added the retreat button into the nav relays. So if you were trying to prep the, like the 85 target for titanium for people within your alliance, now you don't have to sit there and knit in the corner for 15 minutes while you're waiting for that thing to time out.
Oh, that's brilliant.
Yep. Okay.
And they didn't put that. They didn't say that anywhere. It just happened.
It didn't say it, but by golly, it's in there. I have pictures of it, so they're going to have to keep it.
Did they say it's intentional, though? Because were they like to revert it, or?
I don't know. I'm hoping they'll keep it. Everybody is very, very happy with it, so they really should. So, okay. In addition to what we've already talked about, they also added retrofits, retrofits into the weekly update. The first one was the Apollo, which most of these are actually relating to DPS with some accuracy and reload thrown in there. That goes all the way up to R10. They also added for the Revenge Hull, again, a really good mix of retro things, but again, these hulls against the latest turrets and those types of things, there's going to be very limited use, even with these retrofits.
Yeah, I agree with that. I don't get retrofits, because if a player is at a level where he's using those hulls, then he's probably not going to have the resources and time to invest in retrofitting it to a point where it's good enough to use. So
yeah, this one was interesting because we all know that Kick sold the Vanquisher fleet that was doing really well against some of the newer hulls that were coming in there. And so, this has all been released, but then again, it's all kind of mitigated now by that over damage.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, sorry, go on, Rue.
No, that's okay. I was just going to go to the next one. So if you have something on this.
Well, no, I actually think that this is one that possibly could be interesting. If you are using Vanquishers in base defense, they do still work quite well. Their armor pull isn't the worst at 500,000.
Nope.
Yeah, I mean, it potentially could be good, but the only way it will be truly good is if it's followed through with a new thrower that does have an overdamage stat in it. Then, in which case, this will be crazy.
Yeah, see, most of this, though, is relating to damage that it spits out, which is fine, but the weapons that you're using on this hull are not ones that have the over damage, so you're basically going to be looking at the pass-through damage on anything that you're hitting, so it's not benefiting from any of the updates today, whereas it's going to get smacked with things that are benefiting from the updates.
Mm-hmm. And the unreactive stat, I mean, I'm puzzled as to why that was added. I can only think that there's a reason. I don't know why it would need that.
Unless that's tied to the reload, I don't know.
Mm.
Last one that got the retrofit, at least I think it's the last one, is the Spite. They also added deflections, DPS, some evade, weight, and field resistance to that one as well.
Jesus, look at the radioactive deflection at R10. Whoa, yep. That's massive. Yeah.
That's a big chunk. But again, if it's only got 20k armor points, then it's still not lasting very long.
Yeah, true.
Yeah. Okay. In addition to all that, they are rerunning the Titan Rising TLC. This one runs from today through until May the 1st. Same prize packs as we saw last time. My understanding is that it is also the same targets that we saw last time. There are videos out on the page that show the run-throughs for this. There is some positioning that you need to be careful about, which way your rockets are facing in this TLC. So if you've not done it or didn't do it last time, you might want to take a look at the page and see if you can watch that video. But again, so rerunning this one. I know we'll be talking about it towards the end in the bug fixes of tuning, but they did fix the refit issue with the update today, I believe, on the Megas.
Okay, brilliant.
Yeah.
I think that's been affecting, 99% as far as I know.
Yeah, apparently builds were fine, but it was just refits.
Yeah, like adding components and stuff.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Moving on now to Bounty 9. I can't believe that means that we've done this for 9 months already.
2 raids a month for 9 months. Yay!
Yeah, it only seems like yesterday was the first time that we did this. But okay, lots going on with this bounty. We have actually had some changes this time round that will affect people and how they're playing. Runtime is the 26th through until the 30th. So I believe that's Monday. One of the changes that they did this time was the grant amount has dropped. It's now a 400 grant every 6 hours instead of the 800 grant every 6 hours. So take note of that and adjust accordingly. I mean, it doesn't mean if you're a lower player, it doesn't mean that you still can't make the 2K checkpoints. You're just going to have to plan a little bit better with your grants and your map targets and working with your rebels. Still the same 5 mega hull nexuses with the hourly payouts and the times that you are supposed to be logged on for the payouts. Those should be in the release notes. Again, successfully defeating a base will allow you to steal 50% of their unsecured bounty. Again, that's just the value at the bottom, which can be stolen, so they can take 50% of that. We have the same short bubbles, which obviously are shorter than the guard repair time. And then we've got the player replica bases again. The map, these are the map targets that people are using to get points. Again, these are copies of player bases. They're not NPC targets. They're actual player bases that are out there. So you can come across one that has no guard. You can come across one that might be a wee bit damaged. You can come across some very interesting versions. Don't be afraid to look at all of the different levels, because just like in the live game, you can have a level 100 that has a very low key base, or you can walk into a level 85 that could just, tear you up. So don't be afraid to give those a go. They did increase the payout on these by 10%. kind of doesn't equal the 50% reduction in the grants, but 10% times a whole lot of targets is going to add up.
Yeah, I mean, I guess the grants is a bummer, especially for players that were just hitting the smaller, checkpoints. I think they're really going to feel affected by that. But the players for players that are hitting the replica bases, they'll certainly benefit from that.
Yes, I did not put the checkpoint chart in here. Say that 10 times. That would be because the checkpoint chart did not change. So all of those things are still the same way they are. I believe it's a 4 at 2,000 and then 10,000 for the first couple of days, and then the very large one at the end on Monday, which I'm not doing this time because it hurt so much last time.
Yeah, it's a hell of a push, isn't it?
I'm telling you, when you get hit and you watch that 30,000 turn into 15,000 in the matter of like 4 minutes, it's not fun.
I got hit on that last day too, and I don't know. It did drive me insane. But I guess it's part of it, isn't it? You got to take it. But
yep. Okay, so let's take a look at what we can get in Bounty 9 prize-wise. The first thing is the High Guard Warden. I took the extra image out of the game because the one that was in the release notes is kind of at an angle, and I was like, what in the world is that supposed to be? But when you look at the top view from in the shipyard, it's actually a skull. So the ship itself is kind of cool looking. It's a flagship. It emits a hostile field which reduces the effectiveness of enemy hulls within range. In addition, it's improving the projectile speed, explosive reload, and penetrative reload of all defenders. So not just itself and not just other wardens, but all defenders in the fleet.
Finally, a sturdy Omni replacement for people.
Yes. So let's take a look at the stats. You want to talk through these, Liam?
Well, I have not actually fully looked, but I will look now while we're on screen. I'm assuming it's buffed slightly upon the original Warden stats in terms of the countermeasures, or is it exactly matching?
I believe it's got the same plus 150 range.
I mean, let me just say seriously as well, right? During last bounty, I collected a Warden build. I tried 3 or 4 different builds on a Warden, and then someone tipped me off about a build. But I did actually highly slate the Warden. And I slated the Warden because as a counter ship, it was absolutely abysmal. But someone tipped me off about a build. I played around with it, and I worked out a build that I thoroughly enjoyed. And I've had 2 Wardens in my base for the last 3 weeks. And my base has only been cracked a couple of times. It's been cracked 2 times, once by one player did it 2 times, and 1 player did it 1 time. So my base since last bounty has only been cracked 3 times. So that's absolutely brilliant statistics. And it's all because of the Warden. So I was wrong, and this is like a flagship Warden. So this to me is fantastic. I actually love the Wardens. I slagged them off early on, but I do love them, and I'm gonna really, really, really look forward to this hull. And I'll probably run this hull and 2 Wardens in my base now. But statistically, yeah, I mean, if it balances the same as a Warden, my Wardens are running kind of a niche build, but with this whole over damage stat now, I'm probably going to be changing all of them. I don't recommend using the ship as a counter ship, and that's for sure, because the Wardens are terrible as a counter ship. But I don't know why, because they should be good. Maybe if they run Gales, they're good, but with Night Watch, they're appalling. I'll probably be using this to attack and not to be a counter ship. I don't know. What do you feel about it, Rue? Sorry, I'm rambling.
No, you're fine. I have a naked one done. I had not gotten around to actually filling it out, and I was actually watching the thread on the forum. I know Terry talked about Haffel, and I think there were a couple of other people as well, where the whole countermeasure issues itself across the board. So I was kind of waiting to hear what the end result of that was. I knew that the Night Watch was not performing very well, but I was kind of curious as to whether the other one's done. I do know that in test it was a beastie to try and kill. So I've seen it in action, and I've seen it in action in the game. So it's, I don't know, I'm in 2 minds. I'm not sure if I'm going to build it, especially with all the changes. But this one here, the High Guard, may be an option. And for those of you that do want to try Liam's base, I will be selling his coordinates later on.
Hey, no. I'll be changing names soon.
No, it doesn't matter. I'm on your friends list. I'm going to take pictures of your base.
Well, that was prior to the new over damage. So it's a different ball game now, guys. Right? Yeah. But no, I mean, I personally I really like the Wardens now. Although the build to make them good is so niche, it's unreal, it's so silly and so out there. But but yeah, I mean this could really make an improvement, not just to Wardens though. I mean the fact that it buffs damage to every ship and in your guard. I mean,
yeah, we've got the special abilities up on the screen now. It's got a hostile special ability as well as friendly special ability. So the hostile one slows their projectile speed and makes them turn slower. So, and it's got a 200 range,
which is 10 land tiles.
Pretty big, yes. Yeah. So that's a big push right now for fleets charging in. So combine that with the Hope and maybe the Scourge Trap and lockdowns and the 700 million other things that we use to slow down fleets. You know, this will really help with that. And then we've got the friendly defender or the friendly auras that are in there, which is, you know, and again, this isn't restrictive. You know, this is any friendly ship. It doesn't say Wardens or anything like that. It is only on defenders though. So if you've got an Onslaught in there, it's not going to help that. But if you're using other Wardens or other, you know, Vanguards or Vanquishers or anything else like that, it will help them. We've got projectile speed. We've got explosive reload. We've got penetrative reload. So, you know, those are really good. And then there is this additional weapon type missile, which goes ahead and knocks off additional combat speed, as well as deflections.
Yeah, the Wardens have that as well, don't they? The standard Wardens. Yes. Yeah, and it stacks 5 times, correct? Yeah.
Yes, duplicate or kappa 5.
So, you know, you're looking at a nice chunk of combat speed reduced and a nice amount of deflection reduced, especially if you are running 2 Wardens and then this is a flag. You know, you could, so yeah, definitely very good haul. I'm quite excited about that haul.
Yep. Okay, moving on to the next one, which is the Field Extinguisher. This tactical module removes hostile field effects within its range. Its range is 80, so not quite as big as some of the other stuff, but at least it's not like 30 on some of the other things that we've in there.
My wondering about that though, if the Warden flagship, which has a hostile, the first special we were talking about with a range of 200, and this has a range of 80, does it have to be in range of the Warden flag to eliminate its hostile field, or does it eliminate a hostile field within 80 range around you, including if you're in that sort of vortex of the, you know? Do you know what I'm saying? Or am
I cannot answer that. I that would have to be something that we would have to go back to Kix on. And I think because somebody else had asked it somewhere in a thread, and I don't think I actually saw an answer on it. But that is something we'll probably have to follow up with. I don't want to hazard a guess because I'll probably guess wrong.
Because it would seem to me that like if it does do that, then they're basically releasing the counter with the ship. Do you know what I mean? The ship, and then the counter to it.
Well, if the range on this is 80, you know, maybe there's the 200 range Warden effect, and then as you get closer and then you come into this effect, then this completely drops it. Yeah. So whereas the other, I think, is just, let me go back here. The other is far fields, combat speed, projectile speeds. So
yeah, I'm just
curious. This one actually removes the actual hostile field effects completely.
But does it? But see what I'll try and get an answer from Kix and follow up on the weekend show. But what I'm thinking is like, does this range of 80 have to lap to the ship, or does it circulate an 80 range around you that eliminates any hostile field you're in? That's my kind of question. Like, it's not really.
I don't know. So I guess you got some homework.
Yeah.
Yep. Okay. Moving on to the next one is the explosive scope. This is a Conqueror Defender special. Increases the range of explosive weaponry in exchange for reduced explosive power. So for a whopping 9% increase on range, you're going to lose 35% of your damage.
Yeah. Yes, but think about it. If you put this on a Warden full of CT rockets,
Or an Onslaught.
or an Onslaught with 2Q, in your guard, then think about the overjet damage. It doesn't matter about the reduction in damage as long as you're going over pass through, and you're then getting that 1,000 whatever per shot at an increased range. I mean, your Onslaught is then firing at 9% on top of 110. Your Warden's going even further. I mean, it's actually quite an interesting special, and I think more so on the Defender.
Yep. Okay. In addition to that, we've also got kind of like the penetrative version, which is the penetrative force. This one again, this one actually reduces range, but increases damage.
Mm. Yeah, it's interesting. I wonder if stacked up with the Mauler and stacked up with other specials, I wonder how high you could get missiles with that. You could probably get past some ships' deflections. It's certainly the hope, anyway.
Yes.
Mm.
Okay. Moving on to the new missile. This is the Vulture missile. Damage type is penetrative. This is 208,000 damage. Of course, this is a turret, not a ship weapon. This is a turret weapon. This is also a tier 7 penetrative, so it does get the bonus group with all of the what are we at now? 6, I think, isn't it? 4 X's and 2 Halos.
Yeah. Yep.
Yep.
Yeah. I know. To me, this almost feels like the one thing we didn't need. I think EX2s, are high enough now. They're shredding ships. Add this in. I haven't ran the math yet, but regardless of the stats on this turret, I'm not even looking at that. I'm more sort of interested in the penetrative damage buff, the T7 buff, because I think they're going to go really high now and like shredding ships high.
Yes, Venom did show me some math earlier. I did not get a chance to put it in here, but the numbers are getting way up there.
Yeah, and even if let's say you put this in the back of the base, and you get those sort of 5-ship blitzy kind of fleets that just storm through, and by the time they get to your OP, they're already below 50% health. Then your critical hit chance is coming in, and if you double up, you're really going to hurt them. I think you can get the damage high enough with the right stats and specials. Yeah.
Thank you, Venom. I was hoping you were going to post that in chat. Venom had posted. I think he got it up to 4.4 mil for the EX2 and 3.2 mil for the Howie. And so I think the Howie leads on to the next slide, which of course is the Blunderbuss, which is the ballistic version. Now, which is also another tier 7 duplicate cat, 25%. So those are some pretty high numbers.
Yeah, again, I mean, the Howies are just going to go nuts. As Venom's posted the stats there. Yeah, that's crazy figures. Critical hits on Howies are coming back. They're going to shred ships again. But I don't see this doing a great deal. With 12 shots, you're looking at 100K a shot. Obviously adding your specials and your buffs and your whatnot. Yeah, it's going to get quite high, but certainly nowhere near as high as a critical hit on a Howie. A critical hit on a Howie is going to be insane. Again, I might do a part 3 Howie 5 part 3. Do another video on them. Yeah.
Yep. So that's the Blunderbuss. Okay, so that was it for all of the new stuff that we're seeing in Bounty. Let's take a look at the prizes that they've put in there and what's included. At the 1,700 points spot, we've got 12-hour ship build token. The Sloth is out there, which is really good for people that have not had the opportunity to get that. We've got the innovated explosives as well as the Hedgehog mortar, and then a 24-hour structure build token as well. So that's the lowest end of the prize pack, even at 400 points per grants. If you're a lower player, you save a couple of grants and get yourself just a couple of checkpoints. Even if it's just one checkpoint, you can get any one of these things. If you get a couple, you can get more from this this prize section.
Like 1 2K checkpoint a day, and you're going to get yourself a special, a ship, and a mortar.
Yep. And then moving on to the next checkpoint level, which is 2,400 points. This was kind of interesting because we were seeing some PvE stuff in here. We've got the Millennium Gun. We've also got the high velocity rounds. Warplating 3 is in there, which is still useful. You can also get the Survivor. You have to claim them individually, so you have a limit of 5. And then we've got the 24-hour Conquest Yard build tokens. These are not Conqueror tokens. These are the actual tokens to build the said Conqueror Conquest Yard. So if you're still working on that, there's an opportunity to go ahead and get some tokens and finish that.
Mm-hmm.
And then at the 5K price point, we're already seeing the CMXM Reloader special, which is a really good special. The Night Watch countermeasure, which is apparently not working so well. LED Panels 3, we've not seen this one for a while. The SSKP enhancement, which works really well on executioners depending on your builds. And then we've got additional 24-hour Conquest Yard tokens as well.
Not to get confused with Conquest build tokens. Conquest.
No, not Conqueror. Yeah.
Yeah, which seems to be a common thing at the moment.
Well, the easiest way to tell it apart, I know it trips people up, and believe me, I've done it myself, but a ship build token has a wrench, a crane on it with a ship, and you'll see here this is actually more in tune with the building.
I'm glad that kicks keep pushing those Conquest Yard tokens out. You know, I know players that have built them are saying, oh, I'm sick of seeing them, but there's a lot of players that still haven't built them, or players that, you know, have just got into a position to build. Or
even part the way through. I mean, it was a 42-day build.
Yeah. So I mean, I say to kicks, you know, keep putting them out there because it gives everyone a, you know, having 2 yards is an absolute game changer for everyone. So so keep pushing them.
Yep. Okay, at the 10,000 point price point level, we've got the Warden. This is the original Warden. This, of course, not the flagship. You can get 3 of these, and you have to redeem each one. So it would be 30,000 for the free. They are bringing back the tactical focus, which I'm very happy about. Again, still limited to 5, but you can go ahead and pick these up. Then we can get the bus, and you now have an increased cap of 2. So we can now hold 2 of the Brennus Unstoppable stuffs. We've got the the field extinguisher, penetrative force, and the explosive scope. These are all the specials that we just went through. And then we've got the Dave Onslaught skin. And this was a nod to Backyard Monsters, which I think was Kix's original game of Dave. He was the top guy that was in there. So the Onslaught now, and you can see just on the very front of the skin, you can see his face. And so I thought I'd put the actual other character that's in there, and that's Dave from Backyard Monsters.
That's absolutely awesome. By the way.
Yeah, I actually didn't notice it until Ren brought it up, and then I made the picture really good, and I'm like, oh yeah, he's right.
Yeah, that's brilliant.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. And then we also have the Thunderbolt Missile Storm Cruiser skin.
There was a time as well, Rue, when for April Fools we had Dave Pinches.
Ah, okay.
I'm pretty sure they did do that a few years ago. We had Dave Rockets for a day, which was quite cool. But
yeah.
But yeah, that to me is the best skin I've ever seen. Do you know what I think they should do? They should do a TFC logo skin. Put that in there. That would be amazing.
Yeah. But okay, so that's the 10K point level. The next one up from here, and this is a little bit interesting because I believe last time it was 15,000 points, not 12,000 points. So it looks like this may have gone down, if I'm correct. This is the new blunderbuss. You can redeem 1 each at 12K and max of 2, and then 2 of the Vulture missiles as well. So if you already had the 4Xs and the 2 Halos, and then you get these 2 Vulture missiles, then you are at the max for, I think, the tier 7 stacking bonus.
Wait. You can redeem 2 each of these?
It says 1 per redeem, maximum of 2.
Wow, I did not.
So it's not 2 for 12, it's 2 for 24 points. But what they're saying is that when you claim 1, you only get 1, but there is a max of 2.
Oh, I thought that they were. I did not know that. That changes everything.
No, that's directly from the notes. So if that's wrong, then the notes are wrong.
No, okay. I thought you could only have 1. I must have misread the notes. That's even crazier.
Yeah. So two more ballistics to go with the Howies, which I think will put us at 4 for the tier 7 on those. Or, yeah, 4 for the tier 7 on those, and then this would, if you had claimed everything already, then you would be at the 8.
And your max, you can have a max of 8. Is that correct?
Yes, I believe the bonus is 8.
Okay, I did not know that. Okay, that's great. Okay, cheers, Ro.
And then the top prize, there's only one of these, and so it's only 20,000 points. Normally, we know we've seen things in the past that have been like 40 or 37,000 points, usually because we get like 3 of them. But there is a limit of 1 for the Warden flag. So that does drop the top prize down a little bit, but then we're having to spend so much more to get a lot of the bottom stuff.
Yeah, did anyone tally up full value on all the new stuff?
I don't know about all the new stuff, but I mean, Ford was just saying it's like 48K just for the turrets, and I think somebody else, I can't find it, added up, it's like 160,000, I think it was.
160, so they've gone up again.
Yeah, which I think was close to last month's. But again, if you've already claimed all of your tech mods, so there's 50,000 that you don't have to get. If you've already claimed, a lot of the other stuff, then that's not stuff that you have to repeat. 138K according to Darren Dinkle. So
20K over every bounty, every checkpoint each day, roughly.
yeah. So it's it and I looked at this last time, that in order to get all of the top stuff, you pretty much are having to get the top checkpoint each day, including that big ugly one at the end.
That was, last one was pretty much spot on to that. I think it was a few K over, whereas I think if you hit every checkpoint, you're at about 115, 117K, including the big one at the end. So 138, that's going to push you up a little bit. So
yeah, I am going to speak to it, although we hate talking about it because we certainly don't promote it, and it makes everybody angry. But we know people are out there that are running programs. If you see something in Bounty, and you're absolutely positive it's not because of the new functionality that's going out there. I mean, if you join the battle and your fleet instantly is dead, please send the ticket into Fair Play. Kicks cannot do anything about these players if they don't know about them. And a lot of people just say, oh, bugger it, I'm not going to bother doing it. Well, then you can't be mad at Kickside for not fixing something if they're not aware of it. So if you do see something that's, shenanigan wise, please go ahead and send in that ticket. The worst case scenario is that, you just had a crappy build and their base was fine. But again, they can't knock these things down and catch them if they're not aware that it's going on.
Definitely good advice.
Yep. Okay, bug fixes and rebalancing. Yes, shenanigans. I hate shenanigans. We fixed an issue where users would get the SOS when attempting to refit their mega modules. Very thankful that that's been taken care of. They also fixed an issue where the tactical focus was not centered correctly when equipped to a hull. It's kind of funny watching a ship in a battle and the tac mod's like half on the ship and half over the water. So that was a visual issue that has been corrected. They also fixed an issue where Nexus nodes would not remember their previously owned alliance at the end of King of the Nexus. So that's been addressed. They fixed an issue with the explosive force special visually adding explosive range instead of reducing it. So it looks like that when you put the explosive force special on, you look like you had a lot more range than you actually did. So that's been corrected. Fixed an issue with the penetrative overlay displaying null within affected turret stat blocks. That one really annoyed me, so I'm glad that that's been corrected. That, of course, was the from the Abyssal campaign, was the penetrative overlay. They also fixed an issue where the slide loaders were adding multiple entries of their reload stats to the stat block. So it wasn't actually adding damage or anything. It was just like duplicating the line.
Right.
Okay, yeah, and then they also fixed an issue where some users were unable to access the gantry, and I'm hoping that is actually tied to all of the poor buggers out there that are getting hammered with the gantry message pop-up. I know players, it's like you go into a TLC, you get a pop-up. You go to your base, you get a pop-up. You do anything, you get a pop-up, which I know was causing players issues within the TLC. I saw it the other night in a hangout, so I'm hoping that that's correcting that. And Yep. So I think that that was it with respects to the slides tonight. Did you have anything else that you wanted to talk through, Liam?
No, not really. I mean, it seems like it's been a crazy couple of weeks, in BP. There's so much that have happened and so many changes and stuff to get your head around. I'm certainly going to be putting the pen to paper for the next couple of days, trying to figure all this stuff out and get all this all these new figures in my head. But no, it should be an interesting one. I don't know. I think Bounty is going to be pretty much the same as last month. I mean, hopefully with this over damage, we can kill the NPC bases faster. I'm a bit disappointed about needing so many points again, but yeah, it should be okay. I mean, what do you think, Ru?
I don't know. I mean, I've really enjoyed Bounty. I really started doing Bounty because, I kind of had to help talk about it on the show. And so from my perspective, can't really talk about something if you're not going to participate. It really brought me out of my shell with respect to hitting bases. I mean, nobody likes to go out and hit bases and have everybody watch and then, get a bunch of posts about you on Hammer Time because you failed so bad. So I like the format where we've got player bases that are replicas that players can go out and practice with. And it certainly, I guess for want of a better word, made my base grow up. For a while there, I didn't really care about base defense. Medals mean nothing to me. They still really don't mean anything to me. However, I do care about base defense. And so it really helped bring me into the PvP side of the game. And I have enjoyed that piece of it. Don't enjoy having to grind for oodles and oodles of points. But like I said, I like it, but it's 2 raids a month. I was very happy they put the map targets out there and got rid of the bounty bases with the jackpot. So if I want to, spend 5 hours, 4 hours grinding one night, I can do that and, bank a lot of checkpoints. I'm not tied to a particular time. But last month was really, really grindy. And this month looks like it's going to be the same if you want to spend a bunch of points.
Yeah, I agree with that. I mean, it's I really do enjoy Bounty. And I reckon I didn't play Bounty from like maybe Bounty 2 to Bounty 6. Like I didn't play at all, but I wasn't playing much BP at all at that time anyway. So I started playing Bounty again this year, and I've really, really been enjoying it. I must say, I would say that I'm more of a PvP player than a PvE player. I'm quite sick of PvE, to be honest, and I find PvP is the fun aspect for me in this game. So I do enjoy that, but I do feel that we're in a position now where we're escalating. Every bounty seems to just keep creeping up. They keep pushing us. They keep wanting more from us, and I'd like to just sit back and I'd like to enjoy it. Like I find the raid itself does that to me. The raid's high pressure, need a ton of points. If you don't get it, you're not going to be able to do it next month. And I feel that I get that whole experience in the raid. I don't want that experience in PvP. I want to be able to go out, have fun, enjoy it. And every month they're saying, "Oh, you need an extra 20k. You need an extra 20k. You need, and where are we going to be at the end of the year? Are we going to need 250k?" I hate the escalation. Sorry, Ria. Go on.
No. That's okay. Somebody just brought up a really good point in the chat as well. And I'm scrolling up here to find it. Oh, boarding course. Now I can't find it. Morale. Was basically was what it was at. If players are mad and upset about the FM and are mad at the game in general and can't go out and smash bases because they can't get their FM done or their FM fleet is taking up all of their repair times and chores and things like that, then they're kind of not going to want to participate in the second raid / bounty event. And so I know of people that are not doing bounty just because they're fed up with the way things are going right now, although it's not as bad as what it was since they made that change to the TLC. But happy pirates spend, and that's true for any game. And so if you've got a bunch of pissed off pirates that are not interested in doing anything in the game right now, then that does actually make a difference to the way the game is played.
Definitely, and I think it's very important for kicks to remember that players want to spend. If players are happy and enjoying a game, then they will spend because they're having fun. if Kixeye does something where people they basically make a scenario where people have to pay to enjoy it, then that's when things go bad, you know. And one, like you say, I mean, unhappy pirates, unhappy game. And you know, if a player is pissed off about FM, then he will remain pissed off. And instead of looking at things, you know, half full, he'll be looking at things half empty, and he'll say, you know, that pisses me off too, and they're doing that wrong, and and it just grows and grows and grows. Yeah, I mean, it only takes one thing to piss someone off, and that pissed off player can then become pissed off at everything, and sooner or later they can lose that player, you know.
Yeah, and it's not just a coin thing too; it's a time thing.
Exactly.
You know,
Yeah.
it's not, and I know everybody talks about, you know, filthy coiners and that kind of stuff. It's not just a coin thing; it's also a time thing. You know, if I have to spend 2 days grinding out the FM because my Inferno Dragons can't finish a single 500 target without like 12 hours of damage, you know, if I have to spend all of this time grinding that out and grinding out chores and base parts and chasing titanium and stuff like that, then I don't have any time for player versus player, and bounty is my one release. But if, you know, I'm having to spend all of this other time, even while that's going on, you know, last bounty I was doing my FM while the bounty was on, and we'll probably be doing the same. A lot of people will be doing the same this weekend. You know, then there isn't time to do it.
Yeah, no, I agree. Yeah. I agree. Okay, then. Well, listen, have you got anything else you want to bring up, Rue?
No, I don't think so. Appreciate the folks joining us in chat. I know it's not the happiest show. We had a lot to go over, but it is what it is.
Yeah, no, we've got 135 watching just now. So, you know, thank you everyone that's tuned in tonight. We did okay, Rue, didn't we? Just the two of us there. It was no problem at all.
Yeah, and yes, David, I will post your video on the page. I just have no way to share it from this computer.
Yeah, so Dave.
We'll get David's video up.
Dave, he sent me a video too, but I couldn't. I have a potato computer, okay? I can't like screen share and have this open and YouTube. My computer will just die on me. So yeah, we'll get that. But
I will link it in the pinned post for the show, David, just so that everybody sees it.
And then just one final note for any players that might be watching that are new to Bounty. Rue did quite an interesting video on Bounty for Beginner. Was it Bounty for Beginners, Rue? It was, wasn't it?
Oh yes, that it still will kind of count, although it's not an 800 grant now. But the actual steps that you take to do that, and I'll go ahead and link that as well.
Yeah, I'll link that in the description here. So for anyone new to Bounty or thinking about trying it for the first time, worth a watch and see where you are with it. But in the meantime, guys, listen, everyone have a good evening. Thank you for coming out. Rue, thanks for being on tonight, and have a good Bounty. And if you dislike Bounty or if you really like Bounty, please come and join us Saturday and discuss it live on air for the open mic. And until then, we will see you then. Take care.
Bye, guys.
Bye. Good night. Good night.